It's me, Fran Drescher, and welcome to Corona Care for You. And that's presented by Cancer Schmancer Movement. So we're very excited to bring you all different kinds of stimulating, outside of the box thinkers. And today is no different. We have a very special guest, Dr. Patrick Gentempo. And he is one of our advisory board members on our medical board. And he is also the founder of the Revealed series. So it's really important. It's the 21st century, and it's time that we reevaluate and rethink whether a lot of the things that, we were brainwashed into thinking is modern and easy and convenient and good is really. And I think that during these times when we're particularly being challenged from a health standpoint, is when, it's the time where the rubber meets the road, so to speak. I mean, who are the people that are really going to survive this pandemic or walk away with a very, very mild case of it? And why? Is there some that are and some that really get, hit very hard, and some people don't even make it? So that's what I'm interested in talking to you about, because you definitely, have your own point of view about this. And, it's not even so much the way you put it. It's not what I need to do, but what do I need to be? And I'd love you to speak to that first.
Yeah, certainly because of the type of work that we do in Revealed Films, and my background is, a chiropractor and somebody who's worked in wellness and literally has, I hold patents in developing diagnostic technologies and so on. So I've got a pretty broad background in this realm. And so a lot of people will come to me and they'll say, so what should I do? This is happening, that's happening. Should I do this? Should I take colloidal silver? Should I increase my vitamin C? Should I do, they start asking all the what to do's. And I said, we have to stop for a second. And there's a more primary question before you can answer that. And the real question I think people need to ask themselves is not what do I need to do right now? The question is, who do you need to be right now? And what does that mean? Because who you decide to be is going to inform what you do. Are you going to be someone that is going to be panicked, that's going to be scared, that's going to be, go hide in a corner, who's going to basically try to mindlessly follow any of the recommendations that are coming down from the varying people who are giving recommendations? Are you going to live in fear? And are you going to shrink and make yourself vulnerable in this circumstance? Or are you maybe someone who not only is responsible for yourself, maybe you got a family, maybe you got kids at home, maybe you got a spouse, all those types of things. How do you need to show up right now? And that's going to dictate what type of actions you're going to take. Before you go there, the other issue is, well, it starts with, what do you believe? What are your values? What's your health philosophy, if you will? So to me, I think one of the most important questions you could ask yourself right now that's going to inform how you show up and what decisions you make is going to be, what do you think about your body? What do you believe about how the body works? Do you understand that you have chronically for your entire life been exposed to all kinds of microbes, viruses, bacteria, and otherwise, and that your body is constantly dealing with them? As a matter of fact, you have more non-human cells in your body than human cells. These things reside within you, but there's a certain balance and dynamic and homeostasis. I think one of the biggest challenges right now in the way that we are thinking about coronavirus and this pandemic is the idea of we're at war and we're in a battle and we have to kill and eradicate. And to me, that's a very misguided point of view. Number one, it's very arrogant to think that you can kill and eradicate. It doesn't happen. It's never happened, never will happen. Number two, the reality is that, yes, it doesn't mean that we just want to passively say, okay, everybody gets sick and hopefully some of you are going to not die. I think there are certainly steps that we can take, but we have to start with the understanding that our bodies, at least here's my belief, I have a certainty around the fact that the body has a competency to be able to deal with things that are potential threats like coronavirus. And now, if I believe that, then rather than thinking that some magic pill or injection is going to save me if I can stay alive long enough to get it, if they can create it, and that's a whole other conversation, then maybe there's things that I can do that can number one, not only help me from a physical standpoint, but maybe even more importantly is the psychological standpoint of how I approach this, how I feel empowered, and the dynamic of the mind body connection and the things that I can do that are fairly simple that give me the highest probability of being healthy, staying healthy. And if I do happen to have a coronavirus infection, that my body's going to move through that efficiently. And then once I have it, knowing that I'm at that point should probably be immune for life. So that's a pretty much a rant, but those are the general frameworks I think from.
Well, when you talk about the antigens that you get if you do survive corona, we're seeing that they're doing some experimentation now by using the plasma of people that have survived the corona as a possible way to support people's immune systems that currently have it and are very sick because of it. I think that I want to dial this back a little bit because you've said a lot of things, and one of the things that I want to try and separate out and make clear to our viewers is that we are currently dealing with, in general, a medical world that is reductionist medicine. So nobody ever really questions causation. Why are some people's immune systems more compromised than others? Why does 82% of Americans have compromised immune systems? And that's kind of what you're talking about. That's causation-based medicine. Reductionist medicine is, let's find a vaccine for this particular virus, and then we won't have to worry about it. And then what about the next virus and the next virus? As our immune systems and our general quality of health continues to degenerate and erode. So it's a very, if you'll pardon the expression, ass backwards way of dealing with health. It's actually dealing with sick and not health at all. So I like where you're going with this in terms of first asking the question, how are you? What is your life? What are you choosing to surround yourself with, to eat? What products are you using? I mean, this is the opportunity, is it not, doctor, to really, I mean, it's just so frustrating, and I'm sure you're more frustrated even than me, that there isn't one person on broadcast news or in government that's telling people now is your time to start thinking about the things that compromise your health and stop it. Stop it and let your body regenerate and rebuild itself. It's so sad that we should have been getting, like every American should have gotten a first aid kit with a big jar of vitamin C and a big jar of D3 and a big jar of zinc and some 65% alcohol and gloves and a mask and a spray bottle. And I mean, why didn't we at least get that? And, the fact that nobody's been able to get tested when really, because there's a shortage of long Q-tips, it's like, what is wrong with this country? Do they want us to stay sick until, there's vaccine comes along that's going to save the day and make some big pharma uber rich? I don't really get it. It seems like there are very simple, inexpensive ways to start helping people, as well as educating them on all the things that we are doing, forcing manufacturers to be more responsible. I mean, from your point of view, and by the way, I think that it's so funny because, chiropractors, we always used to think of them as people that kind of crack your skeleton. And now the ones that have shifted over into functional medicine, like yourself, I think are the new family physician.
It can be. And it's, it's really, there's a lot of things here, that you said that I resonate with, starting with the whole idea of the news. One of the worst things right now to consume is chronic news. Certainly check in with it to get a sense of what's going on, but think about it for a moment. The news is packaging a product to sell, and they need to gain your interest. It's very easy,
Fear-based.
yeah, to suck you in and to keep you watching if we can keep you in fear. And fear to me right now is the biggest enemy we have. I'm not saying, we shouldn't underreact, but we shouldn't overreact either. You have to just be proportional. But what the news does, what the headlines do, if you want to control people's behavior, create fear, and then you got them locked in, and and in their survival mechanisms with our wiring and our midbrain wiring, we are geared to observe fear, constantly track it, because that's how you survive. At least it's the way you used to survive. To me, the first thing to do if you want to overcome this circumstance called the coronavirus pandemic is you want to get more mindful, meaning get out of your midbrain, get into your neocortex, and start changing the way that you're thinking, because it's going to absolutely impact your physiology. That's not speculation, that's fact.
I mean, if you're in fear all the time, your cortisol levels are probably going off the roof. All of this compromises your immune system. We have to be focusing on staying calm and serene and putting out positivity, and then working, within your home on regenerating your body so that you can resist all kinds of viruses. Because as you say, every breath we take, we're breathing in viruses.
They're ever present. And it's
trying
just
to be inoculated against a specific virus doesn't seem as prudent as creating, uber healthy population, that is really has vibrant immune systems.
There's no doubt that, and you said this earlier, that even number one, even if you're convinced that vaccines work, which is really a debate. Number two, and again, some people might say, oh, you're crazy. No, I'm just saying from the data, it's not like vaccines are suddenly a magic thing that everybody's suddenly immune. It doesn't work that way. And it's got very limited targeted application, which is why flu vaccines never work, because they don't know what flu is going to be around. They try to predict it, anticipate.
People don't realize that they kind of predict what they think may be coming out of China, and then they get a flu, and then they say, but I took the flu shot, and it's like, not for this flu.
Well, I don't want to get into the whole vaccine debate, because we could be here for hours, and it's a worthy conversation, but I'll just say that anybody who thinks that, because here's what's going on. Well, can't
and
they
you did a great reveal thing on vaccines.
We did Vaccines Revealed. Yeah, so we explored.
And you had some great experts on that as well, just offering people another point of view, because it's like, how many freaking vaccines are you going to get? They try and give kids like 40 vaccines before they're free.
Yeah, it's absurd. It's out of control, and that's the mentality of reductionism and materialism that you spoke to earlier, which is a health philosophy that drives you toward trying to create more and more, shots and pills to try to deal with these circumstances. And the reality is, there's just no way to anticipate every possible, virus or disease that's going to come. There's no way to create, a vaccine that can get made in time. Like, look where we are now, marshaling the best resource we have. And they're saying, hey, we've got the sequencing, on this particular virus. We should be able to, create, a vaccine based on it. And they're still saying 18 months. I think 18 months come, you forget COVID-19, you're in COVID-20, COVID-21, COVID-22. The vaccine's like, it's going to be worthless. So it's just not the right mindset. The thing to be thinking about is many of the, what you could do to marshal your own resources, because, people I know I'm sure are talking about the things that you already cited, whether it's going to be vitamin D3, high dose, or maybe intravenous vitamin C, zinc, and a host of other things, colloidal silver, that all of which are very validated ways to say that I am going to boost my immune response given what this threat
And I do
is.
all of those every day, but even those, if I wasn't mindful about not eating industrial farmed foods and not surrounding myself in my home with carcinogens, I mean, how much is that going to do? It's got to be a holistic approach.
Well, and this is,
Everything.
and that's why they call them supplements. These are augmentations. But I could tell you, as far as I'm concerned, what's the most important thing right now that or put them in some kind of an order? Sleep. I don't care what other things you do. If you're not getting proper rest, you're immunocompromised. And unfortunately, think about the cycle. You're listening to the news. You hear all these threats, all these problems. We're at war with a virus. You're not sleeping well because it's not just how many hours are you laying in bed. It's what's the quality of that sleep, and can you get
Do
into a
you
deep
have
sleep?
any tips on how we can sleep a lot? Like my mom, she's up, my dad, she's always worried about my dad. And if he starts talking in his sleep or flailing around, he has Parkinson's, she's like up and she doesn't sleep well. And I'm very worried about that, even though for like the last 2 years, I've been building up their immune system because I don't want them to get flu shots, which they don't get.
Mhm.
I've always said to them, you have to bolster your immune system. You have to be healthy. You have to eat organic. And little did I know, or them, that my pestering them, and I swear they've been annoyed by me on more than one occasion, was for this one defining moment. But she doesn't sleep as well as I wanted to sleep. What can I tell her? Do you have any tips?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, if you're sleeping next to someone who is causing you to wake up through movement or any kind of thrashing in the night, what have you, or even snoring, you've got to just take a break or go to a place where you can not be disturbed, because there's no way to stay asleep if you're being interrupted in your sleep. And I know sometimes maybe that's not possible, but if that does happen where you're not sleeping consistently through the night, I'm going to recommend a nap in the day to make up for it. And you can get into that sort of, because I'll give you an example with my own mom, who is dealing with blood pressure issues. She's 85 years old, and she doesn't sleep well through the night. And I'm like, I get it, you're doing your best, but you need to then during the day take a good solid nap, at least for an hour, to get back and recover some of that rest. Interestingly, what that leads to, incidentally, is that secondly, like she's been having in the afternoon spiking blood pressure. I said, are you getting outside? Because what are we doing? We're quote unquote quarantining, which I don't even like that word. My friend Michael Burnoff, who I interviewed about this, said, we're self-isolating. Quarantine is such a negative thing that creates, again, that midbrain. If I talk to you, you're going to be quarantined. Suddenly now you're feeling like a prisoner. Psychologically, you're going into defense physiology. You're raising cortisol levels. You're engaging your sympathetic system, which is going to deplete your immune response and create all kinds of other problems. Increase your blood pressure, increase your pulse rate, and all kinds of other things are undesirable. So
I just want to underscore what you just said, because I want our viewers to appreciate, you also mentioned earlier the mind-body connection.
right.
And, this is not typically Western, but much more Eastern in the medical thinking. And, you're absolutely right on this. So if you're watching this, you have to understand that what's going on up here is affecting what's going on in your body. In the same way that, it's almost poetic. I was once raped at gunpoint. I didn't really deal with my pain. I just went back to my life. And then 10 years later, I end up with uterine cancer. Why did I end up with uterine cancer? Because I was raped and it stayed up here, and the pain had to go somewhere, and it went there, almost poetically. So this is not a separate thing. It's completely connected to everything in the body. The same way there's like a unconscious intelligence in the brain that's making everything work in a way that you don't have to think to breathe. The brain does that for you, just automatically breathe. And you're not going to necessarily be aware that your fear is finding a place in the body to release itself.
Very true. And as a matter of fact, what's sort of interesting about this in the medical realm, even though they don't practice in a mind-body format, which would be considered philosophically vitalism, they really are materialists in their approach towards trying to deal with sickness and disease. And I'm not trying to denigrate. I'm just, this is just, objective observation. but the sort of ironic thing is that the validation in medical procedure is steeped in randomized controlled clinical trials, and those controls include what they call placebo controls, meaning if people think they're getting a drug and they're really just getting a sugar pill, we actually have to test for the influence of that placebo, which is just absolute a recognition of the fact that what you think changes your body's physiology. So, and this is where, so if I were to get in, like what I was talking about my mom, she literally, I finally, because it was been raining bad, I said, we're self-isolating. I don't want to use the word quarantine because quarantine, creates more fear and panic. We're self-isolating right now. Basically, you're making decisions to say, I'm going to isolate in my home for a while. I don't want to put you under quarantine. That's a different vibration as far as how it enters your body. But if you're self-isolating, you're not getting out much. Sunshine, very simple thing. I mean, these almost sound too
Does that impact
simple.
the blood pressure? Because my parents were just saying, mom said one day both their blood pressure was low, the next day dad's was high. And they are scared to go outside.
Yeah, I said, Mom, go out and just go on the porch and sit in the sun, for a while.
I said, I sent you N95 masks. Yeah. Put the mask on, sit in the sun for 10 minutes right in front when no one's around.
And quite frankly, if no one's around.
My dad has this idea that the reason why it's spread all over the world is because it travels in the air and you don't necessarily have to be in contact with someone that's infected.
Yeah. But to be clear, it doesn't travel that far. If there's no one around, if there's no one within 10 feet of you, then you don't need to worry about it traveling in the air unless they've been there. But if you say, hey, we're kind of like she's got a porch on the side of the house. There's nobody there. She can just sit at that porch. She sat in the sun. Her blood pressure must have dropped 12 points on the systolic side, just because she took some time to relax and sit in the sun. It changes your whole physiology. It increases vitamin D production when you're getting sun on your skin, et cetera. So that's a very simple thing to do. Also, mindfulness or meditation practice is just sitting, even if you don't know how to meditate it, you don't have to know anything. You go to YouTube and just find a ton of meditations that will guide you there. And that is something that you can do to calm your mind, calm your system.
I like the Deepak Chopra, Oprah Winfrey. They have one out now about hope, and it's free, and it's just a pleasure to listen to their wisdom. Eckhart Tolle also is offering things that are free and very reassuring.
And that's what we need now. It's not spreading fear and panic, but getting reassured. I could tell you one thing that I was been contemplating that I found to be extremely poignant that we could recognize right now. I was startled how this virus could reach the four corners of the earth. And no matter what your race, your religion, your socioeconomic level, no matter how remote you are, we are all connected. I mean, if we look at how quickly governments try to shut down, quote unquote, quarantine, get people to self-isolate, shutting down flights between countries, all these things that happened. Even with those best efforts to disconnect, we can't disconnect completely. We are all connected. And the thing that I hold a lot of hope for, because there's something that we're learning from this. We're learning about how connected we really all are. I don't care how wealthy someone is in their ivory tower and how poor somebody is in their hovel in a remote part of a third world country. Those two people are connected, and this has proven it beyond a shadow of a doubt.
I always say poor health is the great equalizer. It doesn't care what your political party is. It doesn't care what your religion is or your ethnicity or race. It doesn't care. That is the great equalizer. That's why I've had success in Washington, because I could talk to people that I have nothing in common with, but I guarantee you they or someone they know has had cancer. And that becomes our common denominator.
That's right. And I believe that if the virus can spread in such a way, so can hope. if we
That's
decide
right.
to
Good
move
for
in that
you.
direction. And when I look at people now, rather than looking at them and saying, I am worried about connecting with you because of you might infect me with a virus. Now I'm looking saying, can I celebrate the fact that we are all connected in this way? And I'm not trying to be very vibey. I'm like literally saying that this is a different frame of reference. It's a different experience of mind and spirit. And that the connection that we can know and understand can bring us resources within our body to feel more alive, to express more life, to have better immune response, and to learn compassion and mindfulness around all of this. So these are things that might be considered more abstractly spiritual in nature, but what I can tell you is that there is enormous bodies of research and data on compassion and mindfulness and this feeling of connection, and how the people who have that at a higher level are healthier, have better immune responses, etc. And I can tell you that when you start to think in those terms, you're less worried about what's going to happen to me and more connected to what can happen in the world.
Dr. Gentempo, you are marvelous, and we love you here at Cancer Schmancer. Thank you so much for joining us today. And thank you, audience, for tuning in to the Cancer Schmancer Corona Care for You. It's my pleasure to bring you this series and wonderful interviews with such mind-expanding, mind-blowing medical professionals. And please keep checking in with cancerschmancer.org. And as we will continue to post more and more and more, and we wish you all good health and stay positive and see this as an opportunity and turn your lemons into lemonade. God bless you all. Peace. Hi, everyone. It's me, Fran Drescher. Well, I hope you enjoyed Corona Care for You. And if you did, please think about making a donation to us at cancerschmancer.org/donate. Like so many nonprofits, we've had to cancel all of our fundraising events. So it's really up to you to help keep us going. We depend on your donations, your support, and your love. There is no donation that's too small, and we are grateful to anything that you feel comfortable giving. And continue to come in to the Cancer Schmancer Corona Care for You series, because we are constantly posting new content, and we hope that it's helpful to you and your family. Don't forget to donate. We really appreciate your support. Thank you.